All right, guys, welcome back to Press X Podcast. Welcome if you are new. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and thank you so much for waiting patiently for the longer than usual intro to finish up there. I had to give the intro an extra minute or two because I didn't realize when I set up the stream earlier this morning, I had the wrong time on it. Basically, it had said that I had already done the stream and the stream was over. And so I think it really confused a lot of people. And I didn't realize it. And I was wondering, like, man, that's an abnormally low amount of people waiting for the stream to start. And then I realized, oh, it's because they think it already ended. So, yeah, apologies for that. Hopefully the notifications got sent out and people will realize that we are streaming. I can't believe I did that. But I guess, mistakes happen sometimes. But yeah, today we are talking about Bloodborne, everybody's favorite game, apparently, that Sony ignores. Echo Spearsy, a member for 12 months, says people are still finding new Insomniac leaks. It just seems like it's never ending. Did that leak give people access to their cloud servers? Yeah, I saw this as well, and I might do a stream covering it. It's hard to say. I did notice that there was new Wolverine gameplay leaked, and I try my best to avoid watching this stuff because it's so early. Like, it's really rough. You know what I mean? It's clear that they're nowhere near the polishing phase, and it's really interesting to get that type of insight. But at the same time, I feel kind of weird because it's like, yeah, this is stuff we're definitely not supposed to be seeing. Like, I almost feel like I'm a developer at Insomniac getting a look at here's the latest build of the game. And it's pretty unexciting in some ways because you can only just get a kind of rough understanding of what the game's going to look like. But yeah, it really seems like that Insomniac leak was truly devastating to the studio, unfortunately. And yeah, it seems like they're still having trouble. I mean, you're asking, did the leak give people access to the cloud servers? It might have. Yeah, it might have. Hopefully not, but it's crazy that we're still getting leaks. But guys, here's what we're going to be discussing today. Bloodborne and whether or not Sony is going to do more with this intellectual property. I want to have this conversation with you today because, well, we do have some relevant Bloodborne news. Miyazaki recently acknowledged Bloodborne and talked about it, albeit briefly, but obviously this catches people's attention because it's like, whoa, hold on, Miyazaki's talking about Bloodborne? What's going on here? There's also the Elden Ring DLC that's coming out. And I figured, I've been playing Elden Ring, and I want to let you guys know now, and I probably will let you know throughout the course of today's show, that after this stream, we're going to be doing a members lounge. Okay, in this members lounge, we're going to be streaming some Elden Ring. I'm at Melania. I haven't faced her yet. I'm at the bonfire or the grace point where you finally access Melania, and I haven't even gone in yet. So we're gonna do that stream after this, and I'm curious to see how it goes. So I just want to let you guys know this now, so that way, if if you're able to consider gifting some memberships today or consider becoming a member, you can gain access to that. We're going to be doing a lot more members lounges going forward. So yeah, today should be pretty fun. But yeah, that's another reason why I want to talk about Bloodborne, is because I've been getting into Elden Ring and I've been really, really enjoying it. Honestly, like, I've been enjoying Elden Ring way more than I thought I would, getting back into it. I think I'm actually enjoying it now more than I did my first time around playing it, and I kind of can't stop playing it. I keep wanting to just boot it up and continue playing. So I'm super stoked for the DLC at this point. And this got me thinking about Bloodborne, because Bloodborne is a game that seems to be on everybody's mind all the time. 4-hour raid stream. Here, give me 1 sec. Sorry about that. I forgot to set something up here that will be quite important throughout the course of the stream. Something for boss so he doesn't knock anything over. No, it's not necessarily going to be a 4-hour rage stream or anything like that, but it should be good. Hopefully I don't have to rage too much. I see somebody asking, did I start a new save? No, I returned to my older file, the only one. I have about, I think 120 hours on it. And I'm basically trying to run through and clean up all of the boss battles that I missed. And I'm thinking about maybe going for the platinum. I'm a little bit undecided on that, but I'm kind of feeling it. I'm kind of feeling it right now. I am. I have 39 platinum trophies right now. So if I were, it's a big if, but if I were to get the platinum for Elden Ring, that would be my 40th. I think that'd be a pretty good 40th, kind of milestone trophy there. Platinum anyway. But yeah, the reason why I want to talk about Bloodborne is it's not just because we have some small news on Bloodborne. We have Miyazaki acknowledging Bloodborne once again. But what I want to do is go over everything we currently know, all of the official stuff regarding Bloodborne, all of the rumors, all of the leaks, and kind of try to figure out where are we with Bloodborne? What should our expectations be with Bloodborne? Because it is a game that just clearly has a cult following that is dying. Frankly, dying for some kind of remaster, remake, a sequel, just for Sony to acknowledge its existence in some official capacity outside of, Astrobot. And I figure maybe by the time we're finished with this topic and we go over all the info, we will be able to maybe figure out where we stand with Bloodborne and what our expectations should be. So we're going to dive into that in just a moment. We have Devlock 1985 coming in hot, dropping a 10 bomb on you guys out of nowhere, kicking the day off in a big way. Devlock, thank you so much, my friend. Really appreciate you dropping 10 membership gifts. And I'll say once again, now that we have a few more people here, if you want to gift memberships, today's a good day to do that. We're going to be doing a members-only Elden Ring stream after this. So 10 more people are now going to be able to watch that and hang out with us, which is great to see. So Devlock, good stuff, man. He says, Devlock 1985 says, let's get the train going. Let's go. So he's calling you guys to action here. We'll see if anybody follows up here, and I appreciate that, Devlock. Let me give you a...
thank you. Appreciate it.
Give you a Kratos thank you for that, bud. So, yeah, this will be a good time for me to just let you know ways to support the podcast, way to support the channel and Boss's snack addiction here. Obviously, becoming a channel member, right? You gain access to exclusive perks, as we talked about, but also gifting channel memberships, as Devlock has done here, really goes a long way in supporting the content. I don't do sponsorships. I do rely on you guys. I rely on this community to be able to do this content, to be able to continue to run this podcast and try to hopefully evolve the channel in some ways. So those are two huge ways to help support. And a third way is by donating a super chat where you can ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, anything in between. That helps just as much. There is a fourth bonus way where if you look at the pinned comment in the chat, that's a direct donation link where 100% of what you donate goes directly to the content creator. So that's just another bonus way for anybody who's interested. You can still leave a message just like you can a super chat. And so, yeah, just want to make sure before we proceed that I give a big thank you to everybody who continues to support the content, continues to support the channel and the community. Literally wouldn't be possible without you guys. Yeah, I'm curious to see how I fare against Melania because I have not faced her. I'm a little nervous. Everybody says it's the hardest boss in Elden Ring, and I was really tempted. I got to her this morning, and I was like, maybe I should go in and give it just one attempt so I know what I'm getting myself into. And I was like, no, I'm going to save it. I'm not going to even try it. I'm going to save it for the stream. So when we do stream that after our conversation today, it'll be literally my first time. And I don't know what to expect. I am level 175, so I'm pretty high level. So I feel like that gives me a slight advantage. We'll see, but All right, with that out of the way, though, guys, we are going to dive into this conversation. Just do me a favor and hit that like button to help the stream out. So, Bloodborne. Well, let me just give you a preface here and let you know my personal experience with Bloodborne. Bloodborne's a really interesting game for me because, as many of you know, maybe some of you don't know, back in like 2018, 2019, I was mostly playing on Xbox. I honestly didn't play on PlayStation at all. I had left PlayStation after the PS3 generation, or during the PS3 generation. I was playing on Xbox 360. I moved over to the Xbox One. Even though it was clear the PS4 had all the momentum, I felt like, well, I have all my investment here in the 360, and I love the 360, so the Xbox One's going to be pretty good. So I moved to the Xbox One, and Bloodborne definitely piqued my interest. I remember when it came out, and I think it was 2015, I was feeling a little bit jealous. I'm like, man, that looks pretty good, and I love the Dark Souls games, but I always just kind of told myself, we'll just see what happens. Maybe one day I'll play it. And I was right about that because eventually, you flash forward to like 2018, 2019, everybody had convinced me to come back to PlayStation, trying to let me know, like, dude, you have no idea what you're missing out on. Trust us. And we know how that went. But one of the first games that I went to go play, because when I came back to PlayStation, I kind of did this thing on the channel where I was like running through games that you guys were recommending to me, basically saying like, yo, play The Last of Us, play God of War, play Spider-Man. But one of the games that was highly recommended, like more than a lot of other games, was Bloodborne. And I was like, well, this should be easy because I've always had some kind of interest in Bloodborne, and it's about time I go play it. So, oh yeah, I did play Uncharted 4 as well. But I remember when I played Bloodborne, there was a lot of expectation. A lot of people were telling me, like, dude, this is one of the best games ever made. A lot of people were saying it's one of the best games ever made. You're in for a treat. But it is difficult. And, I had experience with Dark Souls 1 through 3, and I struggled with those games, but I still overcame them and beat them. So I'm like, all right, I could probably handle Bloodborne. And Bloodborne was, I will say, a little bit more difficult than the Dark Souls games. It took me a little while to get adjusted to the pace of Bloodborne, where it was a lot quicker, and you had to be way more aggressive in your playstyle. And I was very much used to using a shield, playing defensive, and attacking at the right moments. Bloodborne basically trained me to do the opposite of that, to be as aggressive as I possibly could. And once I kind of got settled in, I started to really enjoy the gameplay loop that Bloodborne offered that was vastly different in many ways compared to Dark Souls. And I started to understand, especially with the unique weaponry, why people love this game so much, right? You get the unique weapons, you get that atmosphere, you get that kind of cosmic horror. And as I got further into the game and I finally got to the end of Bloodborne, it is a kind of mind-blowing experience where you're like, there's really nothing out here, even remotely close to what Bloodborne is doing. Maybe except for Dark Souls, right, by FromSoftware. But even then, Bloodborne kind of took things to another level with the, with the cosmic horror and just the Lovecraftian setting. It really was horrifying. Like, I will say, Bloodborne is as much of a horror game, in my opinion, as it is like an action RPG. And I think that's something that really people have truly latched onto with Bloodborne, and why people are so passionate about it. Because if you go play any other FromSoftware game, or frankly, if you go play any other game out there, there's nothing quite like Bloodborne. And people, since this game has released, have been pretty much begging Sony, even till this day, man. It's almost a decade later. People are still begging Sony, like, please, Sony, do something. Mini Tom Official, you're saying, sorry, but MBG, did you see there will be a Nintendo Direct tomorrow? So now it's only Sony that has to do a showcase. Yeah, I did see that. I heard that the Nintendo Direct for tomorrow is going to focus on the last batch of Switch games before, I guess, they reveal the Switch 2. So I'm going to skip the Nintendo Direct tomorrow, and I'm going to look out for what Nintendo does next, because it seems like the next thing that Nintendo is going to do after this Direct, maybe in September or something, is officially reveal the Switch 2. That I am going to stream. That I am going to react to, because I missed out. I missed out on the forgot to add this to the counter, by the way. I missed out on the Switch, obviously. I played it a little bit here and there with games like Smash Bros. And whatnot, very, very, very casually and rarely ever. But I'm curious with the Switch 2 if it's going to be able to win me over and bring me back to Nintendo in a more meaningful way. So I'll definitely stream that tomorrow, though. I'm not going to hop on the bandwagon now and be like, oh, I'll stream this Nintendo Direct because I don't even play Switch. I'll wait until the new Switch is revealed. But yeah, I did see that. But yes, getting back to Bloodborne, I have a video. I think the video is still on the channel for those who are interested. When you're done the stream here and you're done watching, hopefully, the Elden Ring gameplay after this, if you're looking for something to watch on my channel, I believe I still have that Bloodborne video up where I gave my initial impressions. I didn't beat it, but I put like 5 or 6 hours into it, and I gave my initial impressions. And I remember it very distinctly because I remember feeling just this sense of like, this game, man, it would have been a real shame if I had ended up not playing it. It would have been a real shame if I ended up just kind of letting it slip through my fingers. And that's something that was like a recurring theme when I moved over to PlayStation, is just all these great games that were slipping through my fingers that if I, never came back to PlayStation, I would have missed out on all this stuff. And after I played Bloodborne, I was like, yeah, I get it. I totally get why people are like in love with this game and why they are absolutely begging for some kind of sequel. And I've even seen arguments happen online where people are kind of arguing and fighting and trying to determine like, which game is better, Elden Ring or Bloodborne. Is Bloodborne better than Elden Ring? And, I think they're both obviously very good in their own ways. I think Bloodborne in many ways is very different from Elden Ring, very different from Dark Souls. And I can see why some people like it better. But that's just me giving you my history with Bloodborne. I did play it. I did beat it. I didn't platinum it. Not sure if I'm going to go back and platinum it. It was pretty, I won't lie, I was looking at the requirements for the platinum and I'm like, this is pretty intimidating. So maybe I'll kind of make good with that by maybe platinuming Elden Ring. And if we do end up getting a remaster or remake of Bloodborne, I probably will platinum it. But now I want to go over all the info and figure out where we are with Bloodborne. Okay? Like officially, where are we at with Bloodborne? And maybe unofficially. Navizer says, man, I miss one MBG podcast and he changes his setup. Yep, I did it again. You're saying the platinum wasn't too bad, just follow a guide for the Chalice dungeon stuff. Yeah, I will say that's kind of what intimidated me the most. I remember the Chalice dungeons. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. But if we do get a proper remaster or remake for PS5 or in the future with the PlayStation 6, and you'll see why I'm saying that in a little bit, I'll probably try to platinum it. I think I was just a little bit overwhelmed at the time. When I was playing Bloodborne, I was just kind of overwhelmed with the amount of PlayStation games I was playing, and I felt like I was really, really behind. I had like almost a whole generation of games that I'd missed. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, after Bloodborne, I think I moved right on to Spider-Man 2, or Spider-Man 1, I mean. But let's go over the official information here. What official news do we have now about Bloodborne? This is being reported by Push Square. It's not anything huge, but again, we're seeing headlines written about Bloodborne. Miyazaki's talking about it. They say FromSoftware boss Hidetaka Miyazaki is aware of the demand for a Bloodborne PC port among the PS4 exclusives fan base. As it turns out, developers at the Storage Studio want the same thing, and Miyazaki says, quote, "If I say I want one, I'll get in trouble as well, but it's nothing I'm opposed to," end quote. Fittingly enough, PC Gamer pressed Miyazaki, having previously asked the studio head whether a PC port could be on the cards. They were given the standard company line, quote, "Unfortunately, and I've said this in other interviews, it's not my place to talk about Bloodborne specifically," end quote. This time they tried a different tactic, acknowledging that they understand Sony owns the IP, but they slyly ask whether Miyazaki himself personally would like to see a PC port. This approach yielded some unexpected results and laughter from the developers. Miyazaki said, quote, "I know for a fact these guys want a Bloodborne PC port," end quote, pointing to producer Yasuhiro, God, I can't say his name. Yasuhiro, my God. Okay. Kateo, man, me and my pronunciation. I'm just going to call him Yasuhiro. And translator Bobby Simpson. Rather than remaining quiet, Miyazaki elaborated, offering a rare but illuminating look at the situation. Quote, "Obviously, as one of the creators of Bloodborne, my personal, pure, honest opinion is I'd love more players to be able to enjoy it, especially as a game that is now coming of age. One of those games of the past that gets lost in older hardware. I think any game like that, it'd be nice to have an opportunity for more players to be able to experience that and relive the relic of the past. So as far as I'm concerned, that's definitely not something I'd be opposed to," end quote. So there you have it. Miyazaki is not opposed to it, and FromSoftware devs are clearly on board with the idea. Seems like the only holdup is Sony's aversion to the idea of making money. Will we ever see a port, a remaster, a sequel to Bloodborne? Time will tell. So this I thought was certainly interesting and worth going over because, you know, every time FromSoftware has a new product that they're marketing and doing interviews about, every time they're inevitably asked about Bloodborne. Miyazaki is asked about Bloodborne. And in this case, he says what he always says, and that's, hey, it's not my place to talk about Bloodborne. For those who are wondering, I'm sure most of you know this, but some people might not. The reason why Miyazaki is very hesitant to really talk in depth about Bloodborne and why FromSoftware in general seems to never really talk about Bloodborne is because they do not own the IP. Sony owns the Bloodborne IP. And this is what is driving people so crazy, is because not only do you have the fans basically begging Sony to do something with Bloodborne, to do something more with it, whether it be give it a 60 FPS update, port it to PC, remaster it, remake it, who cares? People will pay $70 for it. Sony isn't doing anything as of right now. Sony is just being completely quiet. And now we even have Miyazaki himself, as well as FromSoftware developers, confirming that they are absolutely on board with the idea of a PC port at the very least. And that's interesting because, you know, one of the things that people, I think, would say is that, well, maybe Sony doesn't want to do anything with Bloodborne because FromSoftware doesn't want to work with them. Maybe FromSoftware has moved on from Bloodborne and Sony's too nervous to do anything with Bloodborne, knowing that FromSoftware won't be involved. But we have the opposite of that. We have confirmation from FromSoftware themselves flat out stating that we are on board with this. And they seem to very much be insinuating that they would be willing to work with Sony to some capacity to make this happen. And so that is the official news we got, the latest news. It's nothing major, but man, it seems to be somewhat soul-crushing for the most passionate Bloodborne fans to hear Miyazaki come out and say, yeah, I'd love for more people to play the game. I'd rather it not be stuck on the PS4. I would like to see it maybe come the PC and, of course, maybe come the PS5. But he can't do anything about it. His hands are completely tied. And so from this point forward, I have a bunch of stuff we're going to go over because there has been a lot to talk about when it comes to Bloodborne. So one of the first things I want to go over here is an update that we just saw for Astro's Playroom. Now, you might be thinking, what does Astro's Playroom have to do with Bloodborne? Well, you're going to find out. Being reported by Eurogamer, after the reveal of Astrobot on PlayStation 5 at the recent State of Play, Astro's Playroom received an update adding iconic Bloodborne boss Lady Maria and an associated trophy. That's on top of Bloodborne costumes as a pre-order bonus for the new game. Of course, this led to speculation from Bloodborne fans that something was afoot. Alas, it appears to not be the case. There is no secret meaning, Team Asobi studio head and creative director Nicholas Doucette told Eurogamer. It's just a celebration of the whole PlayStation history. Doucette discussed further on how the Astrobot team will focus on cameos from PlayStation characters instead of the hardware references in Astro's Playroom. Instead of the hardware, we put attention towards the characters, he said, and that's why we push these cameos. Before they were quite primitive, but now they feel much richer looking. It's over 150 cameos, so it's going really deep, and everybody should have their favorite ones. Still, Bloodborne fans are desperate for a re-release of FromSoftware's game, particularly on PC, and as it turns out, creator Hidetaka Miyazaki isn't opposed to the idea as well. So I wanted to point this out because this is, again, another reason why people are talking about Bloodborne, why people are focused on Bloodborne, because, I mean, let's face it, Sony seems to be kind of torturing Bloodborne fans right now, where, oh, yeah, you know, there's no secret meaning, but we're going to make sure that the Bloodborne Hunter outfit is a pre-order bonus for Astro. Now, to be clear, you don't need to actually pre-order Astro. I think it's the deluxe edition. You don't need to pre-order that version or buy that version to get the Bloodborne Hunter outfit in Astrobot. You can unlock it in the game. By pre-ordering it, you get access to it immediately when you boot the game up. But Sony knows what they're doing. They clearly know. Sony clearly knows that people want more Bloodborne, that people have a serious appetite for more Bloodborne. And so they're using it to their advantage with this pre-order bonus. I think it's quite comical that Nicholas Doucette is, oh yeah, there's no hidden meaning. We just decided to give Astro's Playroom an update after 4 years. And which character did we decide to add? Well, of course, Lady Maria from Bloodborne. Duh. It's kind of insane. I'll be honest, it's kind of insane to see Sony do this and just basically kind of act like, oh, there's nothing to see here. I don't blame fans for being a little bit like, Sony, what's going on? You know, we're seeing Lady Maria added to Astro's Playroom after 4 years. We're seeing the Bloodborne outfit as a pre-order bonus. Now we're even hearing Miyazaki come out and say, yeah, I'd love to see a PC port. That would be great. I don't blame anybody for looking at this as like, we need to connect the dots, you know, and see where this is leading. Exactly, Hicksock. You're saying especially that there was already a Bloodborne cameo in Astro. Yes, the hunter was already there. I think he was in a field of grass and he had the what's the weapon called? It's the initial weapon you get where it's kind of like the it looks almost like an axe or like a saw blade, I mean, and you can kind of flip it out, but he was like cutting the grass. So yeah, Bloodborne was already featured in Astro's Playroom. And it is awfully strange that they were just like, okay, we're going to update this game after 4 years. Of all the PlayStation characters you could pick, of all of them, they're like, let's go with Lady Maria. That's a little strange. And I think it's, yeah, the Saw Cleaver. Thank you, Devil Shooter. But, you know, it is what it is. They're saying, look, there's no hidden meaning here. It's like, okay, all right. So those are the most recent things regarding Bloodborne. But now I want to go over whether or not it seems justifiable for Sony to actually do more with Bloodborne, right? It's easy to talk about this. I see this all the time when it comes to classic PlayStation games where PlayStation fans are begging Sony, please bring this game back. Please bring that game back. You know, I see it all the time. But if you look at the data, unfortunately, a lot of these games, not all of them, but a lot of them, that people kind of beg Sony to do more with, there's a reason why Sony isn't doing anything with them. And it's usually because they failed either commercially or critically or both in some rare cases. And in the case of Bloodborne, I want to go over the data and let you know where Bloodborne stands in terms of its sales as well as its Metacritic. So that way we can determine if this could be a possible reason why Sony's like, nah, we're not going to do anything with Bloodborne. So if we go look at the Metacritic, it's safe to say it's a hit, right? If we look at the Metacritic, game released March 24th, 2015 on PS4 exclusively, the Metacritic score based off of 100 critic reviews, 92. sitting at a 92, has a Metacritic must play. The user reviews, 14,325 user ratings. It's sitting at a 9 out of 10. That is insanely impressive. For 14,000 reviews, it's sitting at a 9. So it's safe to say that when it comes to, the type of prestige and, critical success that we know Sony looks for with any games they're planning on pursuing, we know that this is something we can just scratch that off the list. This is not a reason why Sony is not pursuing this game. But let's talk about the sales, maybe the more interesting part. We have From Scratch Gamer, remember, for 12 months. Thank you for that, buddy, saying Bloodborne PS5 Pro Enhanced version. Let's go. From Scratch Gamer is already allowing himself to get hyped. Don't get too hyped. Don't get too hyped. And we have Isaac Adrian with a $5 super chat. Just once again, he likes to come in here and just cause utter chaos. Isaac Adrian says, hat off for $500. Isaac, I want $500 from you, buddy. I want that. But I don't know. Some people think I'm insane. Maybe I am insane, but I just don't think I could sit here and tell you, yes, I'm just going to take my hat off for $500. It feels too spontaneous, Isaac. It does. It feels like, see, here's the thing. If I were to take my hat off for $500 right now, this stream is no longer about Bloodborne. You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with that? Did I just shave? I mean, look, I could give you another tease. I don't know how much Isaac appreciated that last tease, but I could. That's the most I could do today. I did shave though recently, although it's already growing back. But Isaac, I appreciate you asking though. I appreciate you asking. He's gonna drop a $500 super chat and then put me on the spot and be like, "So you taking it off or what?" Oh, you came to the stream thinking we were going to talk about Bloodborne? No, we're going to talk about me removing my hat. I see you, Isaac. I see the chaos you're trying to bring to the channel here. Rudy just says, "Man, just take the money." Hold on. Somebody's saying, MBG, have you seen that they delayed Black Myth on Xbox Series S or on Xbox due to the Series S? Did they confirm this? I'm not going to talk about that here. Maybe this is something we could talk about on an upcoming stream. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know if it was officially confirmed or not. I know it was delayed, but we didn't get like official confirmation. It was confirmed. Steven Leon says, show him some ankle. I mean, that I could probably do. But I feel like it's getting a little weird at that point, you know? They have confirmed it. Okay, yeah. Well, so I was already planning on doing, I was thinking about doing a dedicated stream talking about Black Myth Wukong. Because, man, the preview cycle has come out and they're showing gameplay, and I'm not going to talk about it here. I'll save it for another stream, but it looks insane, dude. So if we do talk about it, we'll cover that as well. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that they came out and actually confirmed that's the reason why. It makes sense. It makes sense. That's what everybody was speculating. But let's get back to Bloodborne here. As we just said, Bloodborne was a critical hit. 92 on Metacritic. Basically what many people would consider an absolute masterpiece. So from that perspective, you have to wonder, Sony, why aren't you doing more with Bloodborne? This is what you like, right? Sony likes the prestige. Sony likes award-winning games. Sony likes those games that hit 90 or above on Metacritic. You know they love it. And Bloodborne would absolutely a sequel to Bloodborne would do that as long as they could work with FromSoftware. So let's look at the sales. Did Bloodborne sell as much? Did it sell as much as people think? Well, let me ask you guys. Let me ask you is how many units do you think Bloodborne has sold? I'm curious. Curious what numbers you guys throw out here. And Isaac Adrian with another super chat saying, how much money would it be to remove the effing hat? I don't know, Isaac. I guess that depends on how much you're willing to pay. It's funny, dude. It's so funny seeing his super chat asking that because underneath that, you see people saying like 5 million, 7 million, like people thinking it's going to cost like millions of dollars. MBG, don't he do it? Don't he do it? At least 1K. Yeah, I don't know. It's really not that big of a deal, at least for me, to remove my hat because I only wear my hat, by the way, when I'm streaming. Like anything else in my life that I do, I don't wear my hat. I don't know, man. It feels weird. It feels like if I, like once I take off the hat, that's it. But it's really not that big of a deal. Kane Z7 says 7.2 million units. Yes, Kane, you are I was about to say you're absolutely correct. You're almost absolutely correct. Bloodborne, as of 2022, so we're missing 2 years of data, but as of 2022, 7.46 million units sold. So if we round that up, we'll just say 7.5 million units. Is that more successful than you would have thought? Is that more copies sold than you would have thought, or less? But Isaac, yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know. Isaac, my question to you is, why do you want me to remove my hat so badly? That's what I want to know. Why do you want me to remove the hat? And why are you so willing to pay so much money for me to remove the hat? Do I look like Kratos if I remove the hat? I would have to grow my beard out a lot more. But I guess you could say I look a little bit. Like a little bit. I don't know, man. Kratos, he's looking at the picture. Yeah, he's got that really clean shave, you know? He's got that permanent baldness. Kane Z7 with another super chat. He says, what's weird is that Days Gone sold around 7.3 million and was considered a flop. I think Days Gone may have sold even more than that, Kane, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I don't think Days Gone was a flop. I think that one of the things that Sony was upset about is that Days Gone critically didn't review that well. I think Sony was hoping Days Gone would be in like the, on Metacritic in like the high 80s or the mid 80s, but it launched with some issues and reviewers were having trouble because there was like a patch that was supposed to go out, but it came out, I guess, after they had already started reviewing it and running into a lot of these issues. But I don't know, man. The situation with Sony Bend is weird because the game sold incredibly well. Days Gone, that is. It didn't review that great, but it was still pretty good overall. Like, it was good enough. Like, people were saying, like, yeah, this game's pretty good. Even with just like user reviews. But it seemed like there was something going on internally at Sony Bend that caused some problems, where half of the studio didn't like the game and didn't want to make a sequel, and the other half did, and they really wanted to make it. And it almost sounded like there was some kind of potential civil war between the developers and the leadership at Sony Bend. So, it's in the past now. Sony Bend's been working on a new game for years. But yeah, dude, that's the thing. When we look at the sales of Bloodborne, 7.46 million units. I would say that's a hit. That's a hit, especially for a game like that. Could you imagine how many units Bloodborne 2 would sell? Bloodborne was pre-Elden Ring, and the cult following and the passion for Bloodborne is so strong. Dude, Bloodborne 2 would easily sell 10 million units, probably 15 million plus. No joke. Bloodborne 2 would probably sell 15 million plus units, especially if they made it bigger, So I wanted to cover this for a moment because I just want to acknowledge here that there doesn't seem to be any logical reason for Sony not to do more with Bloodborne. It's a game that has sold very well. It's a game that reviewed very well and is considered a masterpiece and is sitting at a 92 on Metacritic. So there's really no reason, truly, for Sony to not do more with Bloodborne. And this leads me into the next thing I want to tell you guys about, because I'm going over stuff that I think a lot of people don't know about or have forgotten about. There's a report here from VGC, and it's dated October 4th, 2022. Sony's investment in FromSoftware could lead to FromSoftware properties being used in PlayStation productions. While discussing the company's purchase of a minority stake in the Elden Ring developer, PlayStation Studios head Herman Hulst told Reuters, You should think of the collaboration on the game development side first and foremost. But it's also not unthinkable with our PlayStation Productions efforts that we would explore opportunities. PlayStation Productions is one of the latest arms of Sony's PlayStation empire, focusing on adapting PlayStation franchises for film and television. While Sony is yet to use an IP that isn't its own in a PlayStation Productions presentation, it has now established a relationship with FromSoftware that may lead to non-gaming based products coming from the franchise. So it says here, Sony recently, this was in October of 2022, Sony recently acquired 14.9% of FromSoftware from its parent company, Kadokawa Corporation. I think so many people completely forgot about this. And this right here, if there's any evidence, I mean like real hard factual evidence that a person who believes there's something going on right now between Sony and FromSoftware and maybe even Bloodborne, if there was any single piece of evidence that somebody could drop on the table right now and say, you should look at this, this is probably how you, like, this to me confirms that they are doing something together. It's this right here. Sony invested a minority stake into FromSoftware. They own, about 15% of FromSoftware. And Herman Hulst said, I'm going to say it one more time, quote, Herman Hulst, 2022, you should think of collaborations on the game development side first and foremost. So he's flat out telling you that we are doing this with FromSoftware. We're focused on game development. But he does throw in there that maybe it could extend beyond that and go into PlayStation Productions as well. And there have been some rumors. Not going to cover these rumors because I don't know that they're as relevant, but there have been some rumblings that there might be a Bloodborne movie or anime or something regarding Bloodborne from PlayStation Productions. But I wanted to put this out here to remind people that this is a thing that happened where Sony is an official, they own a part of FromSoftware. And I think it's kind of crazy to think that Sony would do something like this and invest this type of money into a developer like FromSoftware to then not do anything in the gaming department. I'm not saying this means Elden Ring 2 is going to be a PlayStation exclusive, nothing of that sort, but it probably does confirm that at some point in the future, we're going to see another collaboration on a game between Sony and FromSoftware. Why wouldn't it happen? Now, I also want to go back here for just a moment. I actually did this a little bit out of order. But when we're talking about Bloodborne, there was another major PlayStation leak that revealed like how much money all their games have made. And if we look at Bloodborne, it's number 15 on the list. And this is official data. This is leaked data. This is data that we were absolutely not supposed to see. But in order, we got Spider-Man, God of War Ragnarok, The Last of Us 2, Spider-Man Miles Morales, God of War PS4, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, The Last of Us PS4, Gran Turismo Sport, Days Gone, Uncharted 4, and then Bloodborne. So Bloodborne is in the upper echelon here, I would say, with all these major franchises, and it made Sony a total of, and I don't know, I don't think this is, I'm not sure if this is profit or total gross revenue, but $83 million. Okay? I don't know how much Bloodborne cost to develop, but it made $83 million. All right. All right, so now that we have all of this out of the way, I've talked to you about my history with Bloodborne. I gave you the latest news that happened in the last week regarding Bloodborne. We went over how well the game sold, how it did critically, how much money it made Sony, and we also went over the official news from a couple years back that Sony invested directly into FromSoftware and owns a small portion of FromSoftware. Now, we're going to get into the rumors, okay? The rumors regarding Bloodborne. And buckle up because it's somewhat of a wild ride here. First rumor. This comes from Game Rant. This was published on November 7th, 2023. A newly surfaced rumor claims that FromSoftware is currently developing a PlayStation 5 exclusive. The leak thus implies that the Elden Ring maker is working on its first PlayStation-only game since PSVR exclusive Deracine released to mixed reviews in 2018. I actually forgot about that game. Following its humble beginnings as a PlayStation-focused developer in the 90s, FromSoftware started alternating between different platform exclusives in the early noughts. I don't know why I said it like that. As the Japanese studio kept growing, it also started consistently tackling multi-platform projects come 2010. That trend has only been ramping up ever since, as underlined by the fact that 8 of the 11 FromSoftware games released in the last decade were multi-platform titles. Nevertheless, FromSoftware is now said to be working on its first ever PS5 exclusive, according to leaker Brazil. They go by the name Brazil. Again, this is back in November of last year, which several media outlets identified as an alias of Vergben or Vergeben. Or Das Vergeben, a known industry insider best known for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Scoops. Reset Era Guarana was the first to relay the claim, attributing it to Brazil's recent livestream. GameRant was unable to locate the broadcast in question or verify that Brazil is the same person as Vergeben, who was previously primarily sharing scoops via messaging boards such as Game FAQs and Reddit instead of live streams. According to this recollection of the purported broadcast, this individual speculated they basically claimed, leaked, that FromSoftware's PS5 exclusive will not be a sequel to Deracine, not least because they heard no mentions of that game since its release. Instead, the insider opined that the project in question is much more ambitious in scope than FromSoftware's 2018 PSVR exclusive. On that note, the leaker reportedly said that there was no indication that this mysterious PS5 exclusive is related to Bloodborne, the studio's last big PlayStation exclusive, which released in 2015. The game's development reportedly started in early 2020. I don't know why I said it like that, 2020, as per the same source. So here are the key takeaways from this particular rumor, or leak, if it's to be believed. Take it with a massive pinch of salt. The development of this PS5 exclusive started in early 2020. The game is unlikely to be a sequel to either Bloodborne or Daracine. I don't know why there's this focus on Daracine. Like, of course, it's not going to be a sequel to that. And it seems that whatever this game is going to be something brand new. So that's one of the rumors. And this is interesting to me because we've been hearing rumors for a while that Sony has secured some kind of exclusivity deal with FromSoftware for another PlayStation exclusive title. Now, here's another rumor. Let me make sure. So this rumor comes from, it was published October 27th, 2022. FromSoftware new PS5 exclusive IP is reportedly more Souls-like than it is Elden Ring / Sekiro. Why am I saying things so weird? Sekiro. Somebody help me. Previously rumored PS5 exclusive developed by FromSoftware is a brand new IP that has no connection to Bloodborne or Demon Souls, it's claimed. During the latest episode of the Xbox Era podcast, Nick, co-host of the podcast and reputable leaker, revealed some more details about this PS5 exclusive, saying that Hidetaka Miyazaki, creator of the Souls games, is on the project, and the details that have been sent to Special Nick, this is what they revealed. Deal-wise, it's pretty much identical to Bloodborne and Demon Souls, as in Sony owns the IP, but it's made together with obviously FromSoftware and Sony XDev Japan, which is formerly Sony Japan. Hidetaka Miyazaki is on it. It's not Bloodborne. It's not Demon Souls. It's an entirely new IP and apparently has no connection to the former two games. It's believed, I think, the PS5 exclusive is more Souls-like than it is Elden Ring / Sekiro. So, this is, basically we have the same rumor back to back. 2022, 2023. Now, the validity of these sources is questionable, but this rumor seemingly won't go away. This rumor that Sony has secured some kind of deal to make a new game with FromSoftware. What's really interesting about it is if there's truth to this, this game has to be ready to reveal soon. So I imagine that we're going to find out in the next year or so if this is true or not, because FromSoftware is a really, really efficient development team. If the game started production in 2020, then we are over 4 years into the development cycle. And so, you got to wonder, right? Is it a possibility that Sony may have something like a big surprise potentially planned? I'm not saying I believe it. I'm just saying that these are the rumors we've been hearing for the past couple of years. And I guess what I'm trying to say here is it's interesting to look at the rumors we've been getting for the past couple of years, which is, Sony and FromSoftware are working on another PS5 exclusive, like another PlayStation exclusive game. Okay. Then we see that Sony makes a direct investment into FromSoftware and owns a portion of FromSoftware, and Herman Hull says you should think of this first and foremost from the game collaboration point of view. Okay. He didn't confirm that they're making a new game. He didn't say they're making another PlayStation exclusive, but he did say, like, we're doing this to make another game or more games together. And then now, in 2024, a year where everybody's clamoring for some significant announcements from Sony, which haven't happened yet, we got Astrobot straight up randomly teasing the shit out of Bloodborne, and then Miyazaki flat out coming out and being like, yeah, we'd love to do a Bloodborne PC port. It's just, I'm not necessarily saying that all of these things are connected. It's just fascinating to me that each year that goes by, like, there's still this tether between Sony and FromSoftware and kind of Bloodborne being thrown in there randomly. Now we have another rumor. This is probably the most, this is the most recent. This is the most recent rumor giving us info on what's going on with Sony and FromSoftware, or at least with Bloodborne. So this comes from the leaker known as I'm a Hero 2 / Head on the Block. And this is what they claimed when they were asked on Reset Era about like what's going on with Bloodborne. They claim Bloodborne remake for the PlayStation 6 is currently in the planning stages. They claim Bluepoint had the job at the start, but it might be with another studio now. They also claim that a Bloodborne PC port was made at some point, but Sony sat on it for multiple reasons. This is the most recent leak we've heard or rumor when it comes to Bloodborne. And let me tell you, I don't know if this individual has a good track record or not. I believe them. I believe them because this makes way too much sense, dude. Like, if you're Sony, right? If you're Sony, you know people are dying for a Bloodborne remaster or remake. You know you're going to need some really good exclusives to encourage people to buy your next-gen console when that comes out. I would not put it past Sony at all to basically say, you know what, we could release Bloodborne remake for PlayStation 5, or we could make it a PlayStation 6 exclusive and use it to basically sell PlayStation 6s. Hey, you be good. You be good. He's trying to chew my wire. Is my camera okay? He was chewing my camera wire. All right. If you're Sony, you clearly like. I want to just let people know about this because I don't think people are thinking enough about just how big of a developer FromSoftware is now. Anything Sony chooses to do with Bloodborne or Demon Souls for that matter, but in this case we'll just focus on Bloodborne. Anything Sony chooses to do, they're doing so in a post-Elden Ring world. Elden Ring sold 25 million units, and FromSoftware, as of right now, is probably considered the best development team in the world. Probably until GTA 6 comes out. This isn't something you take lightly if you're Sony, because you own a FromSoftware developed intellectual property, one that has a cult following and a lot of potential. You don't just push out randomly, here's a PS5 remake or remaster. You don't just randomly drop a PC port of Bloodborne. That's not how you handle this. Knowing that we are in a post-Elden Ring world, Sony probably thinks, okay, when we release this game, whenever we choose to re-release it, we will be able to put the FromSoftware logo on it because they developed the game. You know? Or, truthfully, they're probably going to work with FromSoftware a little bit. They're probably going to work with them on it to a certain extent, at least get, some collaborative effort going on there. And I think Sony probably views it as we will be able to sell easily like 12 plus million units, maybe even more. We will be able to sell an insane amount of units because FromSoftware 2015 versus FromSoftware 2024, two completely different FromSoftwares. Okay, you're talking pre-Elden Ring, post-Elden Ring. FromSoftware has garnered so many more fans since 2015 that, yeah, if you're Sony, you can't just rush into that. You can't just, people, it's funny, I see people be like, Sony just needs to drop a 60 FPS patch for Bloodborne. It's like, yeah, that would be great, but Are you out of your mind? They're not going to do that. We have Money with a super chat saying Digital Foundry said that about Black Myth Wukong is it'll be 30 FPS and Starfield and Hellblade games are okay as long as it's a game they're waiting for. Money, I don't fully understand the entirety of your super chat. I kind of understood the first. I understood the first part pretty clearly. I understood the first part about Digital Foundry. You're speculating, I guess, that Black Myth Wukong will be 30 FPS. But you're saying Starfield and Hellblade games are okay as long as it's a game they're waiting for. Well, what I will say about Black Myth Wukong is that game is an Unreal Engine 5 game. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 30 FPS title. Although, hold on, didn't the developers confirm that there's going to be a performance mode, or am I thinking of a different game? I don't know, Money. I'm gonna be doing more research on Black Myth Wukong soon. Yeah, that's what Paul, you're saying Wukong has a 60 FPS mode. That's what I thought too. I thought I heard that. Sorry, Boss looks like he's up to no good. I guess we'll see. Jay Shaka, you're saying he's saying that it's because both of those games are 30 FPS. Okay. All right, yeah, that makes more sense. Let's see here. So, just to get back to this and come to a conclusion here, at least with this, I'm not saying to believe any of these rumors. In fact, take all these rumors with a huge pinch of salt, massive pinch of salt, because they're just rumors and they're spread out across multiple years. But I will say, out of all the different rumors that we've gotten over the years, there are two that make the most sense to me. Number one, the idea of Sony working with FromSoftware again, that makes total sense to me. Why else would Sony invest in FromSoftware if not to work with them in a collaborative way once again? Number two, I would not be surprised at all if we find out that Bloodborne Remake is going to be a launch PlayStation 6 title. I wouldn't be surprised at all, dude, because that will sell so many PlayStation 6 consoles. It's an easy win for Sony, and some people might be frustrated. I wouldn't be. That'd be great, but, I think that's what's going to happen. I do. That sounds like the most likely outcome. And we have Josh here with the super chat, and he says, I think Black Myth should be added to your list of PS5 games coming this year due to it indirectly becoming a PlayStation 5 console exclusive. That's a huge get, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right, because when we talk about a list of upcoming PlayStation 5 games, we just had an extensive conversation. I didn't talk about Black Myth Wukong, but you're right. We talked about Silent Hill 2 Remake, and that is releasing on PC day one, and it will be releasing on, it's a timed exclusive for 1 year, so assuming it will release on Xbox 1 year, but we still count that. So yeah, we can add Black Myth Wukong to that list, and that probably becomes the number one game for me. At least, I don't know, I have to look a little bit more into it, but it does look really good based off of what I've seen. And Josh, you say here with another super chat, after these previews, it looks like a Game of the Year contender. Yeah, I saw just a little brief snippet of gameplay, and I'm like, man, it's like one of those games where it kind of looks a little too good, but we're talking about hands-on previews now. So, yeah, man, that's a huge get, an indirect get for PlayStation 5. I mean, It's hard to. It's one of these things where it's like it's an accidental exclusive, console exclusive, but I mean, when you're talking about reasons why somebody might choose one console over another, yeah, I mean, that's something I would consider, you know? But that's just me. So I have one more update here. And this one might disappoint some people. But it's the most recent update we've gotten from an established insider on the current situation with Bloodborne. So on June 13th, Gene Park of the Washington Post said, "It's not my place to talk about Bloodborne specifically." He said that in quotations. This is what Hidetaka Miyazaki said a few months ago. Then Gene Park goes on to say, "Something strange is afoot with Bloodborne and Sony." Jeff Grubb quote tweeted this and said, "It's just not happening at the moment, at least not involving FromSoftware. FromSoftware's time is worth too much, and Sony probably doesn't want to pay the premium to lock it down. It's hard to imagine FromSoftware working on a one console exclusive ever again." That's what Jeff Grubb said. Now, it's worth noting that he only confirms one thing here. The only thing he actually confirms is he says nothing is happening with Bloodborne right now. That's what he says. He goes on to speculate that he doesn't think there will be a partnership for a console exclusive with FromSoftware ever again. He's not confirming that. He's saying it just doesn't seem like that's ever going to happen after Elden Ring. And that makes sense. I think that makes sense. If you're FromSoftware, you have all the leverage. You know, if Sony comes up to you and says, "We want to make an exclusive," assuming they didn't already sign a deal, but they want to maybe strike another one, you know, FromSoftware is not going to go exclusive unless Sony pays them an ungodly amount of money to do so. And Sony's not going to do that. The premium is way too high now, for sure. But the real question is whether or not Sony secured another exclusive deal prior to Elden Ring. Because the rumors that we just went over claim that this PS5 exclusive game has been in the works since 2020. If that's true, then that means Sony may have signed this deal with FromSoftware well before Elden Ring released. And it might be the last time, of course, but that's the latest update we have when it comes to a insider talking about the current situation with Bloodborne. And apparently nothing's happening. Project Velvet Veil, I remember hearing about that, yeah. I see you, Unknown. I see you. Doesn't Sony have shares with FromSoftware? Yes. Sony owns a 15% stake in FromSoftware. So there is that, as we talked about. When will the Elden Ring stream be? So today's regular stream is probably going to be a shorter one. I'm not planning on doing the stream for that long. Like, this isn't going to be like a 3 or 4 hour stream. So this stream will probably go on for till around 2 p.m. Eastern, maybe 2:15 or something like that. And then after that, we'll set up the Elden Ring members lounge. That's another reason I wanted to talk about Bloodborne specifically today, is because I figured I'm going to be doing this Elden Ring members lounge. So why not talk about a FromSoftware title? Oh, Elden Ring. Yeah, so let me give my closing thoughts here on this specific topic until we just kind of start chatting about other things. Sony should absolutely do something with Bloodborne. And they will absolutely do something with Bloodborne. People need to stop kidding themselves and trying to convince themselves or others that Sony's not going to do something with Bloodborne, those people clearly don't understand business, because Sony is 100% going to do a lot more with Bloodborne. But what people need to understand is they're looking to maximize its potential. And if they're going to, it's worth noting that one of those rumors claimed that a Bloodborne PC port was developed, but then it was just kind of shelved. And you have to ask yourself, why would Sony do that? If that's true, why would Sony create a Bloodborne PC port to then just shelve it? I think it's kind of obvious. It's because they realize that we need to save this. We can't play this card yet. We need to save this card. That's exactly what they're doing. So we're going to get more Bloodborne. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And if I had to guess, the most likely time we get more Bloodborne is next generation with the PlayStation 6. Sony launched Demon's Souls Remake with the PS5, and it was a standout title that still hasn't made its way to PC. Don't be surprised if the way that Sony's looking at it is, okay, yeah, let's get another FromSoftware game. Let's remake it from the ground up, and let's have it ready to go for the launch of the PlayStation 6. Now, just imagine what that'll look like. I mean, it's great to fantasize about a PS5 remaster remake of Bloodborne, but imagine what a PlayStation 6 remake of Bloodborne could look like. Now, if you ask me, I'd rather wait for that, because that sounds like it's going to be even better. That sounds like it would be worth the wait. Now, as to whether or not we're going to get a Bloodborne 2, that's the big question. I'll say this. If Sony were to make Bloodborne 2, they are smart enough to know you are going to need FromSoftware on board to make Bloodborne 2. You don't make Bloodborne 2 on your own. You don't do that. That's like the equivalent of, Konami thinking that they could just start making Metal Gear Solid 6 without Kojima and everything will be fine. It's not. It's not going to be fine at all. You're going to upset a lot of people. It's a similar situation. So what Sony has to do is they have to wait until FromSoftware is able to be free again to possibly work on a Bloodborne 2. But here's the most important part. Bloodborne 2 will probably not be an exclusive. Sony would very likely have to be okay with Bloodborne 2 being a completely multi-platform game. Maybe even releasing on like Xbox or something, because I just don't think FromSoftware would ever agree to make a Bloodborne 2 that's only releasing on PlayStation, unless Sony's willing to pay for that. And I don't think Sony's willing to pay that much of a premium. So I think all of these things are going to happen. I just think that they're going to happen a little bit later on than what most people are thinking. And I hope Sony does more. I hope Sony does more with Bloodborne, because the worst thing Sony could do is do nothing with Bloodborne, but they're not going to do that. Sony's not going to just leave Bloodborne there to rot, because that's money. That's basically them saying, we don't want money. We don't want more money. Come on. Of course Sony wants more money. The craziest thing Sony could do is try to make Bloodborne 2 without FromSoft. That'd be wild. PlayStation Pete with a $5 super chat says, is Stellar Blade a Souls-like, and how difficult is the Platinum? I can't speak to the Platinum because I have not Platinumed the game. So I'm going to refer to my chat. I want to ask my chat, has anybody here Platinum Stellar Blade? If so, can you help PlayStation Pete out and let us know how difficult it was? Maybe rate the Platinum difficulty? And when it comes to it being a Souls-like, it's really not much of a Souls-like. There are certain aspects to Stellar Blade that are similar to a Souls game, but not that many. I would say Stellar Blade it's more hack and slash and less strategic overall, I would say, than the Souls games usually are. Mr. B says, yes, I'd say it's a 4 out of 10 platinum. From Scratch Gamer says it's not that hard, 5 out of 10. So it sounds like a pretty medium difficulty platinum. PlayStation Pete. But yeah, I don't know that I would call Stellar Blade a Souls-like. Stellar Blade to me is again, it's much more hack and slash. And it seems to me like the game just has certain elements that are somewhat inspired by Souls, Souls-like games. But yeah, it's more like an in-between. Has Souls-like elements, but yeah, like if you pick up Stellar Blade and play and think, oh, this is gonna be like Dark Souls or Elden Ring or something, it's not. Or Bloodborne, it's not. Let me go check on. Okay. Yeah, so guys, I do have a poll up, by the way, in case you missed it. I'm asking you, do you think Sony will do more with Bloodborne? Simple yes or no. Be sure to vote on that. It has Sekiro-ish elements. There you go. Sekiro-ish elements. I have a one more article here from PC Gamer. And the title reads, FromSoftware says Elden Ring's popular seamless co-op mod is definitely not something we actively oppose and may even consider ideas like that with our future games. So it says here, the week before I traveled to Tokyo to play Shadow of the Erdtree for PC Gamer's next cover story, I knew I needed to brush up on my Elden Ring skills. Instead of tackling the game solo again, I decided to recruit a friend and try out the Seamless Co-op mod, which turned out to be a blast. I recommend it to anyone going back to Elden Ring after their first playthrough. Co-op has always been my favorite way to experience FromSoftware's games, and in some ways, Elden Ring makes it easier than Dark Souls to summon friends to take on bosses and dungeons together. But it also has some frustrating limitations, like not being able to ride Torrent in the open world. So when I interviewed FromSoftware president Hidetaka Miyazaki for the cover story, I brought up how seamless co-op makes it possible to play the entire game in a single uninterrupted multiplayer session, and asked what he thinks about that way of experiencing the game. It's definitely not something we actively oppose or want to downplay, wanting to go through the whole game together, Miyazaki said. In terms of where we were with Elden Ring, it was simply a case of wanting that more loose, casual style drop in, defeat a boss, drop out. It doesn't put any technical restraints on the player or restrictions on the player. It just sort of lets them complete this focus and then move on, so to speak. Elden Ring did make that aspect of the co-op experience quite a bit friendlier than it was in prior FromSoft games. In Dark Souls, for example, you had to use a consumable item to be able to summon another player for help, a limitation Elden Ring greatly eased up on with its crafting system. It also introduced the concept of summoning pools to concentrate players, summon signs, making it easier to quickly find somebody to assist in a tough battle. Those are nice changes for players who only occasionally want to dabble in co-op, but for me, it's a quite different experience than going on an entire journey with a friend, which I've done for the entire Dark Souls trilogy and now a good chunk of Elden Ring. So I was pleasantly surprised by what Miyazaki had to say. That's not to say we won't consider other ways like you and your friend played from beginning to end. Total co-op. That's not to say we won't consider ideas like that with future games. So I just had to throw this out here because I really hope that if we get like an Elden Ring 2 at some point, or just a future game, right, from FromSoftware that's similar to some extent, kind of uses the Soulsborne formula. I really hope they do this, like full co-op, because Elden Ring feels like such a tease, man. It does. Like I'm not playing it on PC, so I've never used this mod, but I'm a little bit jealous that they have this mod where you can just summon in a friend and you can go through the whole game cooperatively. That is awesome. And it would be amazing to be able to play the entirety of Elden Ring that way. So I just wanted to throw that out there that apparently they're paying attention. They're paying attention, and yeah, they might do that. All right, let me get this out of here. All right. Where are we at? Like an hour and a half, almost an hour and a half into the stream. Okay. The next Uncharted film is in development. Sony Pictures confirms. They got to be making a new. They got to be making a new Uncharted, right? Miyazaki also said he has yet to make his perfect RPG, but is getting close. His perfect RPG will be Berserk. Dude, I can't imagine being the director of Elden Ring and being like, yeah, we're not quite there yet. I mean, could you imagine that, bro? I mean, that's good though. That's really good because that means that he's still hungry. He still feels like he has some kind, like Miyazaki clearly still feels like he has some kind of vision that isn't yet fully realized. Maybe that's just the type of person he is. There are some creatives out there where it's like they could make the greatest thing ever, but in their mind, like it could be better, you know? That usually leads to better results down the line. By the way, guys, do me a favor, hit that like button. Have you played Rebirth and have you finished it? I did play it. I haven't finished it. No, it's on the back burner for now. Rebirth is on the back burner for now. Yeah, I saw the Uncharted movie. It was okay. Wasn't that good. It was really weird. I'll be honest, man. Like, it was so weird seeing Mark Wahlberg as Sully. It's like, that doesn't seem to make sense. But the movie itself was fine. Think more like, we did amazing on Elden Ring, but we can still do better. Yeah, that's a good way. That's a good way to put it. What did I think of what I played of Rebirth so far? I liked it. I mean, there were aspects of Rebirth that were just, I think, too overwhelming for me and too padded, honestly, where it was like, I wanted to just focus on progressing the story, but it felt like every time I was trying to, there was like all this other stuff I had to do. And I started getting, I think, a little overwhelmed by it. And then I moved on to Rise of the Ronin. And I told myself I'll play both at the same time. But then I just started focusing on Rise of the Ronin. And I didn't go back to Rebirth. And so one day I'll have to get back to it and finish it. Rebirth is, yeah, it's a little bit bloated. I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask. Like, there are people who are like, I love every minute of this game. But I wonder why they felt the need to do that. Because there at the beginning of the game, I tried to do like everything there was to do, and as I was doing it, I'm like, okay, I think this is a bit too much. I did finish Ronin, yeah, great game. Didn't platinum it though. Great game though. Great game. Rise of the Ronin was really fun. The Unknown, you're saying you loved every moment of Rebirth? That's good. That's good. And PlayStation Pete with another $10 super chat here. He says, want to watch cool movies from the 80s, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, and Pretty in Pink. Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall are my favorite actors. You know what's interesting? It's before my time, PlayStation Pete. I've seen The Breakfast Club. I don't think I've seen Pretty in Pink. I've heard of 16 Candles, but I never watched it. I've seen a lot of 80s movies, though. When I think of, like, 80s movies, I think of a lot of, like, action movies. A lot of, like, Arnold movies, like Commando, Predator, Terminator. Breakfast Club was a good movie, though. Mrs. MBG is informing me that she loves all of those movies, by the way, PlayStation Pete. She says they're classics. So you're not alone. You're not alone, Pete. It's so weird. When I think of the 80s, like, for me, it feels like the 80s was like, I wasn't alive in the 80s, obviously, but when I look at that time period, I'm like, oh yeah, that was like 20 or 30 years ago, right? It's like, no. No, it wasn't. It's longer than that. It's like, damn. Lost Boys, Revenge of the Nerds. I've seen that a long time ago, Revenge of the Nerds. I don't remember like anything about it. But I do I think I remember the ending of that movie. I know I saw it. Remember the ending they put on like that concert or whatever? A Toxic Avenger game is coming? Roadhouse. Yeah. Anytime I hear Roadhouse, I just think of Family Guy. Devil Shoe, you're saying, MBG, do you know what Berserk is? Miyazaki is heavily inspired by. I've heard of Berserk, yeah, and I heard that that's like Miyazaki's like favorite thing. I don't really know exactly what it is though. Isn't it like a manga or something? Or an anime? Uh, somebody in the chat says they just beat GTA 6. Damn. It's a manga. Okay. Yeah, I don't know anything about it other than the sword. And there's a big sword. That's about it. All I know, and I know that Miyazaki really likes it. Am I uncultured? I'm uncultured swine. It's a dark fantasy manga. JMR77 says he beat GTA 7. Manga. Hanzo says he's playing Knack 3. What other games do I think Rockstar's working on? None. I don't think Rockstar's working on any other games. The only game I imagine Rockstar is currently working on is GTA 6 because it's a game that's going to be so big in scale and scope. Every person working at Rockstar is probably all they can really do. I feel like I remember hearing those rumors, Captain Hook, where you're saying Rockstar's working on a medieval game. Yeah, I don't know. The last game that Rockstar put out was Red Dead Redemption 2, and you know, I would say if Rockstar is working on anything other than GTA 6, it would probably be Red Dead Redemption 3. Like really, really early production of Red Dead 3. That's my guess anyway. We have ACM here with a $10 super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. Saying, what is your most underrated game of last gen? Mine is Crackdown 3, JK. It's Mad Max for me. I was about to say, ACM, get out. Mad Max. You know, I've seen people talking about that game recently, I think, because of the new movie. And a lot of people were basically saying that the game is pretty underrated. You know? That's a great question, though. Underrated game. Let me. Oh, it's last. I don't know why. I was thinking PS3, but I'm like, wait, no, PS3 isn't. That's 2 gens ago, man. Underrated game. I feel like I would need to see like all the games I played, because there's a lot of games like floating in my head right now, but I don't think any of them are underrated. There is one game, but I feel like I've talked about it quite a bit. Yeah, the Order 1886 popped up, but I feel like that's a little bit unfair because I didn't play it at launch, but I don't know that it was underrated as much as it just was like, I think Sony underappreciated, like yeah, the game didn't really do everything perfectly and it didn't really review that well, but I think Sony had a lack of appreciation for like, dude, this world and these characters are sick, and you need to support this and take it further because this could be big. Days Gone, yeah, Days Gone might be up there, but I'm trying to think of some other games. I'm gonna look at a list of games real quick, but before I do that, Perfect Image has a super chat and says, being a fan of Ghost and Rise the Ronin is one of the first party I've gotten from PlayStation. I'm glad they made these titles. Can't wait for Ghost 2, Project 007, etc. Yeah, I can't wait to see Ghost of Tsushima 2 as well. I don't know that I feel confident anymore that we're going to see it this year, as insane as that sounds. I just don't want to like get my hopes up, but yeah, Rise of the Ronin was really good. But definitely like Ghost of Tsushima more. Let me go see. Let me PS4 games. Let me just look at some random PS4 games, see if there's anything here that I am forgetting about playing. Oh, those are all so I'm not trying to look at exclusives. I'm just trying to look at like general games. Underrated PS4 games. You know, I'm actually curious. Let me just search underrated PS4 games. Okay, I don't know why that didn't go through. What are some underrated? Everyone's saying Days Gone, Vampire, Prey, Soma, Gravity Rush 1 and 2, Ape Escape, Sleeping Dogs, Abzu. You know, that game Sleeping Dogs, I never played that, but I think people really did like that game. They're making a sleepy dogs Sleeping Dogs movie. Alien Isolation. Oh yeah. You know what I remember about Alien Isolation? I remember with Alien Isolation, IGN gave it like a low rating and people were like, Are you serious? I remember IGN got completely shredded for basically having what people just considered like a garbage review of that game. And I kind of never forgot that because everybody who played it was like, dude, this is incredible. I never did get to play it myself, though. Oh. Let me see what other games are listed here. Somebody says The Order 1886, Bulletstorm, Another Days Gone, Alien Isolation, Detroit Become Human. Somebody said Generation Zero, War of the Monsters, Tokyo Jungle. So this isn't necessarily just for PS4, but it was a Reddit thread. What is the most underrated game on PlayStation? 30 overlooked PS4 games. Helldivers is on this list. Shadow Warrior 2, Night in the Woods, Sherlock Holmes, Crimes and Punishment, Next Machina, Alienation, Counter Spy, Sniper Elite 4, Neo, Wolfenstein: The New Order, Just Cause 3, Titanfall 2, Lords of the Fallen, The Evil Within. You know what? Hold on. The Evil Within 2 might be one of the most underrated games. I remember playing that and thinking, this is amazing. And I feel like hardly anybody was talking about it. And it's really sad because the studio that made The Evil Within 2, Tango Gameworks, just got shut down. But The Evil Within 2 was an awesome game. That was a really underrated game. I did play The Evil Within 1, and I really enjoyed that as well. The Evil Within 1 was so strange though. I feel like The Evil Within 2 was a little bit more focused and like better realized, and I think I liked it because of that. Like I liked it more because of that. I saw that A Quiet Place just announced, like they just announced a game. Prey is a seriously deep game. I don't understand why immersive sims don't find success. Most immersive sims are great. Deus Ex, Bioshock, Dishonored, Hitman, Prey. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just don't have the type of mass appeal. I think Ghostwire Tokyo, even though that's not a last gen game, that game was a little bit underrated too. I did enjoy that. By the way, guys, we're going to be streaming a little bit longer here. I'm not going to make this a long stream today, but I do want to say we are going to be moving over to a members lounge. So a members only stream, but we're going to be streaming some Elden Ring end game boss battles. Okay. So we're 10 members on the day. If you're already a member, you're going to have access to it, but just want to put the reminder out there for anybody interested that that's what we're going to be doing after the stream today. And we have Michelle Butts here saying A Quiet Place game gives off Alien Isolation vibes. Comes out this year. Yeah, I didn't see the trailer for this yet. I think I like saw it on the PlayStation YouTube channel. I have to check it out. I didn't see the movies either. I think I know like the concept of the movies. I heard they're pretty good. I should probably watch them. They're kind of on like my backlog when it comes to movies. You're saying you want FromSoft to give you Sekiro 2. You think they're going to make a sequel to Sekiro? But yeah, I'll have to check out this Quiet Place game. God, I really need to lower the brightness of my screen. Hitman Contracts is great. I don't have any experience with the Hitman games. Never got into them. Never played them. Isn't Sekiro a Microsoft game now? I think so. I don't know. No, I think FromSoftware still owns the IP of Sekiro. I could be wrong. It's always confusing when it comes to IP ownership. Who owns what? Hicksock, you're saying, in my opinion, Until Dawn Remake looks way worse than the original. The original uses Decima Engine, and the remake is just Unreal Engine. Yeah, I think I remember. I think somebody told me a while ago that Until Dawn used the Decima Engine, which was kind of surprising to me because I feel like that's so random. It's just like a random Decima Engine game. I wonder why they decided to move away from it. Jason117 says Microsoft doesn't own Sekiro, FromSoftware does. Okay. Kingdom Come Deliverance was treated wrong by the game media at launch. Yeah. Games media. Gotta love it, man. Sony owns some of FromSoft, so they got to get on that. I think that person thought that Microsoft owned Sekiro because Sekiro was published by Activision. And sometimes, well, actually, in a lot of cases, the publisher usually owns the IP, but it's not all the time. But in this case, it just seems like a situation where FromSoftware was allowed to retain the rights to the IP, and Activision just published it, I guess, to make a little bit of money off of it. In Japan, FromSoftware self-published. Okay. I didn't know that. You're saying Activision only published in North America. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that. I was like, that's a little random. A little weird. In the UK as well. Yeah, maybe in the West, I guess. Yeah, it'll be really, really interesting. The more I think about it, it's going to be really interesting whenever FromSoftware announces their next game. Because what, there was Elden Ring, and then there was Armored Core. And Armored Core, I think a lot of people were like, wow, it's cool to see FromSoft like sticking to their roots a little bit here and still making another Armored Core, but I don't think it like, you know, I think for a lot of people they didn't expect like, oh, that's what's next after Elden Ring. Now you have the Elden Ring DLC that's about to come out. I want to say something really quick about this Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. I read that it's anywhere between 30 and 40 hours to complete. That is, I just think that's insane, dude. Like, that is longer than most AAA games these days. And they're like, yeah, it's a $40 DLC. Like, that's just wild to me. Like, they probably, well, they couldn't have called it Elden Ring 2 because people would have been like, oh, this is a lot smaller than Elden Ring 1. But it's just like, FromSoftware is making other, I think, other publishers and developers kind of look foolish, you know? Where they're like, yeah, here's a 30 to 40 hour DLC, bro. $40. Just open the stream. MBG looks angry today. No, I'm not angry. I might get angry in this Elden Ring stream we're going to do. But Armored Core still sold around 3 million, so it's still good. Yeah, that is pretty good for a game like that. I really wonder what FromSoftware is going to announce next, though, you know? Very curious. Yeah, I didn't buy Armored Core either. I just knew, you know, mech games, mech combat, it's just not my thing. Not my thing. Is Spellbound real? I don't know. Velvet Veil, Spellbound. We're going to find out. I forgot about those. The Activision published Spider-Man games. Yeah. Yeah, those were a thing. Activision was doing that for a while. I remember there was like that random Captain America and Thor game, an Iron Man game, I think. I don't know if Activision had anything to do with it, but they came out during like the 360 PS3 days. Heatwave, you're saying you just ordered Stellar Blade. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have a good time with it. Elden Ring was only $60, and Got almost 200 hours out of it. Yeah, I might do a dedicated stream sometime soon talking about Elden Ring again because I don't know, man. I think that's one of the reasons why I was kind of inspired to talk about Bloodborne today because I don't know. I'm feeling differently about Elden Ring my second time playing it. I mean, I didn't start a new game, but I'm just feeling differently about it. Where I'm like, I just feel like I'm enjoying it much more for some reason. I don't know what changed. Maybe I got a little bit better. Um, I am still watching guides though. To be clear, like basically, I'm trying to trophy hunt and find these bosses that I missed. And I'm not surprised that I missed a lot of these bosses because some of this stuff is really, 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 really easy to miss. And some of the stuff I'm definitely needing guides for to be able to figure out where the hell I'm going. And I just think the biggest issue I've had with Elden Ring is probably one of the things that people love most about it, but it's just the sheer size of the world and the density of it. And I just feel like I just always feel overwhelmed when it comes to like how do I like where do I go exactly? You know, how many things am I like I just got an immense amount of anxiety when I was playing the game yesterday because I just thought to myself, I was in this this area called like the Shaded Castle, and I kept feeling like there was a bunch of areas I missed exploring in this castle. And I was like, damn, how many things did I miss? How many items did I miss? But then I thought, dude, do you know how many things you probably missed in this game in general? You probably missed like half the stuff in this game. And that just gave me so much anxiety. I'm like, is Elden Ring the first example for me personally of a game simply being too big? You know? FromSoftware was so focused on making the biggest game in the world, but they didn't stop to ask, should we make the biggest game in the world? No, it is impressive, man. Regardless of how I feel, like even though at times I feel overwhelmed by Elden Ring and I feel like the world is a little too big for me and it makes me feel a little bit of anxiety that I'm definitely not going to be able to do everything in this game. Putting that aside, yeah, the game is on another level. Like it really is. I almost feel bad for developers, you know, that are trying to make big RPGs or something because it's like you got to compete with this. Oh my god. Like I just feel sorry for them. Like I just can't imagine being a developer and being like, "All right, play Elden Ring for inspiration and then we're going to make our own game." I would be like, "You know what? There's no reason to make a game. There's no reason to make a game. Look at Elden Ring." Corey says, lads, we must will the return of Bloodborne. It must be done. People have been trying, dude. People have been trying. It's going to happen at some point. I think it's so interesting that Naughty Dog is straight up inspired by Elden Ring and Bloodborne. I'm telling you, man, pay attention to what Naughty Dog does next because I think their next game is going to be very inspired by FromSoftware. And that's a great thing in my opinion. You know? That could create a really, really interesting situation. It's like Naughty Dog announces, we're making Bloodborne 2. Could you imagine that? Some people would cheer, some people would cry, some people would probably lose their minds. The idea of Naughty Dog making a Bloodborne 2 sounds so chaotic. I would love to see it. I would love to see a Bloodborne 2 by Naughty Dog because I want to see that chaos. I want to see what happens. I want to live in that world. I want to be in that timeline. We're closer to that timeline than you think. Go watch the making of The Last of Us Part 2, Grounded 2. Go watch that. And dude, they were gushing over. They were so inspired by Bloodborne that they were like, let's make The Last of Us 2 melee only. Melee only. And I'm like, that's kind of awesome. It didn't work out, obviously. They needed to have firearms in The Last of Us Part 2, but I just think that that's so fascinating. And I don't know if you guys remember in The Last of Us Part 2, there's that section, the Seattle section, where it basically was open world for like a little bit. It was like Naughty Dog kind of being like, all right, we're just going to try and make a section of this game open world and see how it turns out. And I think there are just kind of hints to what Naughty Dog might be doing next and how FromSoftware might inspired it might be. That's what I'm thinking anyway. I do wonder when we're going to hear about Naughty Dog's next game. Shadowlink, you're saying those types of games are great to me no matter what. Each new location to explore makes me happy. It reminds me of when I was a teen making my way through the woods, opening up more of my in real life town map. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm trying to embrace the exploration as much as I can, as best I can. Dude, earlier this morning when I was playing Elden Ring, there was this section. It's the area right before you get to Melania, and I haven't fought her yet, as I said. But that tree, I don't know what it's called. It's just some kind of tree. You're basically in the air, and there's like kind of a castle in there and shit. It's wild. I don't know how FromSoftware comes up with this stuff. But a little bit before I get to that section with Melania, dude, there's just this area. I might show it to you guys in the members lounge after this. There's this area. I couldn't believe how like overwhelmingly difficult it was, where I'm like, is this a joke? Like, I'm like laughing at it. I'm like, this is a joke, right? Like, I'm level 175, where there's this giant like tree boss that can do holy magic and holy spells, and there's these two knights that are super powerful, also doing holy damage. And then there's like 4 dudes with ballistas that can like insta-kill you. And yeah, the Hallig tree, yeah, dude, it was so ridiculous. I kept trying to fight these dudes, and I'm like, this is what I got to encounter before the hardest boss fight of the game? I'm screwed. Also, I've been trying to do some multiplayer with Brown Sugar on Elden Ring, and can't even do it. Can't even do it. Like, every time I try to bring him in, we're getting invaded by some crazy-ass PvPers that are clearly this is all they play, and it would just get immediately wrecked. And I'm like, okay. It's so funny. Paul says Brown Sugar OG in the Muscle Bound gang. Who knows? Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be on. I was going to say I'll summon him in. But, yeah, bro. Elden Ring's crazy. Elden Ring is a crazy game. Like, it really is. Elden Ring might be the craziest game ever made. It's just shocking, man. It is. I don't mean to sound like I'm, like, gushing over it too much, because everybody talks about how amazing Elden Ring is, but it's just, like, what really shocked me is, as I was playing it, the realization, like, dude, I missed literally half of this game. Like, I just walked by half of this game. Whole sections of the map unexplored. Still, it still makes me wonder, like, how many other areas have I still not explored that I don't even know exist? Summon, let me solo her. She's still doing that? Get good. Yeah, I'm trying to get good. Dude, so I was stuck on this one boss last night. Do I know the story without looking it up? No. No, I don't really know the story of Elden Ring. Like, I couldn't tell you anything. Like, I don't know. I feel like I get some idea, like in the area that I'm in, like based off of just context clues and stuff, but I'm not like reading the lore. I mean, if I ever need that, I go to VatiVidya. But yeah, man. I was stuck on this one boss last night. It was the boss. There's a trophy for him. He's riding a horse and he does like magic spells. I forget the name, but I think it's the boss you fight before Millennia. And I was getting my ass whooped. I'm doing like a pure strength build. Not Radon, no. Somebody will know the name of this boss. And he just kept like insta killing me. Like I was able to get like 1 or 2 or 3 hits on him with my sword. And you know, I'm using a big ass sword, so I think it's Loretta, yeah. There you go. Jason knows. Yeah, Loretta. And I was like, damn it. But then I remembered, wait a second. Don't I have Mimic Tier? And I forgot how to use, like, I forgot everything about this game. And I totally forgot that I have a plus 10 Mimic Tier. And for those who don't know, what this does is it literally creates a clone of you. To clone. It's like the 6th day. Create a clone of yourself. And it's just it plays just like you do. It's basically having another you. And I went into that boss battle. I used the Mimic Tier, and holy shit, insta-wrecked this boss, dude. Like, it was done in 45 seconds. And I was like, holy shit. Okay. Totally forgot that I invested in that Mimic Tier, man. Who needs to summon? All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're a little over 2 hours in. I'm going to do last call for memberships, guys. Okay, we're going to move over. As soon as this stream ends, we're going to move over to the members lounge, and we're going to be doing an Elden Ring endgame boss fight. Going to fight Millennia. Never fought her before. Didn't even get to watch the cutscene yet. So we're going to move over there in a couple minutes. I'll keep this stream up for about another 5 or so minutes. We'll do a last call for memberships. See, we got about 5 minutes to see if we could hit the goal of 25. And then we'll move over there and do that gameplay. And yeah, I was testing out earlier, making sure everything was good to go. We shouldn't have technical difficulties. Am I going to get absolutely wrecked? See, I don't know, man. That's the thing. I'm expecting to get wrecked. I really don't know what to expect other than I faced some pretty difficult bosses up until this point, and there are some cases where I barely overcame them, but I did. We'll see, man. What if I beat her first try? What if I do it first try, dude? How crazy would that be? Guys, I'm kidding. I'm actually over level 700. Wait till you see this. No, I'm just kidding. And Corey the Legend Landiga comes in and drops a 10 bomb on you guys. Corey's like, we need more people in the members lounge. Let's go.
Holy shit.
Corey, thank you so much, man. Thank you for dropping 10 more membership gifts. Corey just brought us up to 20 members. So, guys, we have about 3.5 minutes. Can we do it? Are we going to get to the 25 mark? If we can hit 25 before the stream ends, we'll feed the beast as well. Boss is going to have to be nice and fed, obviously, or else he's going to interfere with my gameplay, which might actually be kind of funny. I don't know. And guys, yeah, hit that like button for me as well as we're bringing this stream to a close. We're sitting at 160. Let's see if we can get up to 175, baby. And Corey's like, I'll do it myself, bro. Corey drops another 5 bomb for you guys. Another 5 memberships gifted from Corey, the legend. There's a reason why we call him the legend. So just a reminder, that's 15 memberships gifted by Corey alone. Just a reminder, if you were gifted those memberships, not only are you going to gain access to this upcoming members lounge we're about to do now, but you gain access to all of the previous members only content for a month for free, courtesy of Corey here. So thank you so much for that, Corey. It's time to feed the beast because you crushed the goal. Let me update it for you so you can see where we're at. We'll feed boss and then we'll head out. Yeah. Really appreciate that, Corey. Always coming through for the community. Boss, where you at? Where is he?
Boss, do you read me? It's time to feed the beast.
All right, me and boss have to fuel up before we fight these bosses. There you go, man. Thank you guys for that. So, yeah, we did that with about 45 seconds to spare as well. So, really appreciate the support, guys. What does MBG fuel up on? Well, I did have some chicken earlier. I did have a protein shake as well. There is the results of the poll. Do you think Sony will do more with Bloodborne? 53% say yes, 46% say no. So it's pretty close to being split there. That's based off of 602 votes. And yeah, so thank you guys for showing up to the stream today. I know it's a little bit random because it's like, okay, we're talking about Bloodborne on this Monday, but yeah, we'll see what else comes up later this week. We're going to move over to the members lounge. We're going to stream some Elden Ring. Now, I just want to let you guys know, for those of you who are here right now, my goal, there could be something that interferes with this. And I just want to give everybody the heads up now because I don't know what to expect. And I really hope it's... My goal is to continue to stream every day this week at the same time, going live at 12 p.m. Eastern, and then doing a members lounge after most of these streams. But I'm just letting you know that there could be something that pops up starting tomorrow that interferes with it. And what might happen, and I just want to put this out here now because I know that those of you who are here right now definitely like to tune into the streams as often as you can. What might happen is the streams might go live later than usual, like possibly a lot later than usual, which will be strange for me as well, but it remains to be seen if that's going to have to happen. As of right now, I'm planning at 12 p.m. Eastern, same time as always. I always feel bad when I have to stream at different times because I think it really confuses people. So I just want to let you know to hit that notification bell. Can't even fully rely on that sometimes because YouTube is finicky with when they actually notify people. But if you want to, make sure you don't miss any streams when they go live, hit that notification bell. And I think you have to even toggle on a setting to get all notifications, so you'll know anytime we go live here. But guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Press X Podcast, all about Bloodborne. Be sure to, again, leave a like as you file out. I want to give a big shout out to all of you guys for dropping membership gifts. Corey comes in at the last minute and drops 15 gifts, bringing us up to our goal of 25. Love to see it. And I also want to thank everybody who dropped any super chats. Really appreciate the support. And big shout out to Devil Shooter for doing the timestamps for the streams. He does a great job. If you see him in the comments, show him some appreciation. I know I know it means a lot to him. And yeah, so guys, the members lounge is about to go up within the next 5 minutes. I hope to see you over there. And to everybody else, I will catch you hopefully tomorrow with another episode of Press X Podcast. So that does it. Me and Boss are signing off. I will catch you guys in the next one. So till then, take care, everyone.